He ran his mower straight through her flower bed again. Petals shredded, stems gone. 30 years erased in seconds. Margaret didn't shout or stop him. She calmly picked up her phone and set it down where the camera could see everything. This time, she wasn't protecting the garden. She was collecting proof. The mower screamed, sharp, defiant. Blades tore through petals, stems folded. Margaret watched from her porch. The handle of her brass watering can still warm from her hand. She didn't shout. Not this time. The air smelled of gasoline and broken lavender. The man next door waved, half smirked, and went right on trimming the border she'd tended for 30 years. He was new, maybe mid-40s, all gadgets and noise. House freshly painted, lawn trimmed like a catalog page. She lifted the phone just to check the time, nothing more. Then she put it down on the step beside the can. Enough, she whispered, not angry, not loud, just final. Later, she walked to the small community office, shoes clicking against the clean concrete path. Inside, the young HOA clerk smiled too quickly. It's probably a misunderstanding, he said. Maybe just talk to him. I have, she said. Twice. He clicked his pen once, then set it down. The screen's glow shifted across his face as he said, We don't usually get involved in neighbor matters, Mrs. Hale. Outside, the afternoon light turned the metal nameplate on her mailbox into a dull shine. Hale. Her husband's name once stood beside it. Now only hers remained. The bed beside the box was a quiet riot of color, or used to be. That evening she sat on the porch with a cup of chamomile. Sprinklers hissed. Air conditioners droned. Across the fence, the neighbor's yard glowed too bright, the kind of light that said, Look at me. She didn't look. Instead, she opened her notepad, wrote 3 words, visible camera setup, then underlined them twice. In the distance, a lawnmower started again, someone else's this time, but the sound made her pause. She placed the watering can on the porch rail, exactly where the light caught her name. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. Tomorrow, she'd start differently. The next morning, she laid her phone on the porch railing beside the watering can. The sky was still pale, the kind of soft gray that makes sound travel farther. She could hear the mower 2 houses down before the sun fully cleared the roofs. Inside, her granddaughter's voice came through the speakerphone, bright, a little amused. Nana, you don't need some big system. Just use your phone camera and one of those clip mounts. I'll show you later. Margaret nodded, even though the girl couldn't see her. Visible, right? Nothing hidden. Right, the girl said. You're not spying. You're documenting. That word stayed with her all day, documenting. By noon, she'd ordered a small garden sign. Garden under video. While waiting, she printed a paper one, taped it to a stick, and placed it by the shortest stems. The neighbor saw it that afternoon. He slowed the mower near the fence, turned the engine off, and called over. You really think anyone cares about your little garden show? She just looked up from her chair. Someone might. He snorted, pulled the start cord again, and drove off. Later, her friend from the book club, Marion, who knew more about tech than anyone expected from a 70-year-old, came by with a small tripod and a thermos of tea. They positioned the phone just so, the camera pointing at the bed and the street beyond. Nothing hidden, all perfectly legal. They sat for a while after, listening to the faint buzz of sprinklers. Marion laughed quietly. Feels like we're in a crime novel. Margaret shook her head. No, just a garden story. Days passed like that, calm, steady, almost ordinary. She tended the beds, trimmed dead leaves, kept her routine. The neighbor mowed, loud as ever, sometimes closer than necessary. Then one morning, she knelt by the soil and tucked a small sachet beneath the edge of the bed, lavender and peppermint, store-bought, meant to deter moles. The smell was sharp, clean, almost medicinal. She covered it carefully, stood up, and brushed her palms. Across the fence, the neighbor revved his mower again, louder than usual. She didn't turn her head. She just adjusted the camera, checked the live feed on her phone, and smiled faintly. The screen caught the reflection of her brass watering can. Something was beginning to bloom, not flowers, not yet. The mower started before 8. Sharp, steady, too close. Margaret was already on the porch, cup in hand, her camera angled toward the garden bed. The sign, Garden Under Video, fluttered once in the breeze. He didn't even glance at it. Headphones on, dark glasses, a look that said he owned every inch of grass he could see. The machine's blades roared, biting into the border again. Margaret didn't move. The phone's red dot glowed in the corner of her screen. Live. She could see the feed reflected in her glasses. Then came the scent, sudden, cutting through the morning air. Lavender, peppermint, and something bitter underneath. The sachet she'd buried earlier had burst open under the mower's vibration, sending up a fine dust. He coughed once, waved a hand, then again, harder. The mower drifted sideways. He pressed his palms to his eyes, stumbling backward, eyes streaming. The engine still roared. He reached blindly for the handle, missed, and swore loud enough to echo down the street. From a distance, it might have looked almost comic. But Margaret didn't smile. She just steadied the phone. Behind her, the porch clock ticked, steady now, louder than the noise. A car slowed at the corner. Someone pointed. The live feed counter blinked. 4 viewers, then 6. Her granddaughter's name popped up in the chat. Got it. Nana. Margaret's voice was even, almost dry. Do you need directions home? He froze at the sound. For a second, silence. Then he straightened, red-eyed, furious. You think this is funny? No, she said. I think it's recorded. He turned off the mower, kicked at the grass, and stormed toward his porch. The air smelled of fuel and peppermint. Margaret watched him go, then turned her phone sideways and ended the stream. No drama, no chase. Just a thumb press and a soft click. Inside, she washed her hands, wiped her glasses, and brewed fresh tea. Her heart was calm, not racing, not proud, just clear. She glanced at the porch camera one last time. It showed the garden bed, torn but standing, and the small sign still upright. By noon, 3 neighbors had texted her the same message. We saw it. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. By the next morning, the video had already made its way through the neighborhood chat. No captions, no music, just raw footage. Mower, flowers. The moment he staggered back, her voice calm as stone. Margaret didn't post it herself. She didn't need to. The HOA secretary called before breakfast, tone clipped but polite. Mrs. Hale, we'd like to schedule a meeting about an incident involving you and Mr. Dalton. She answered, of course. The hearing took place 2 days later in the small community room by the mailboxes, folding chairs, a long table, the faint smell of old carpet cleaner. Margaret arrived with a printout of her complaint, 3 photos, and a USB drive labeled garden feed. He came in late. Sunglasses again, jaw tight. He didn't sit near her. When the chairwoman asked if either party had something to present, Margaret simply slid the drive forward. The video played on a modest flat screen. No sound for the first few seconds. Then the roar of the mower filled the room. Someone coughed. Another leaned forward. When her voice came, do you need directions home? A ripple of quiet laughter moved through the chairs. Not mockery. Recognition. The chairwoman paused the video. Mr. Dalton, would you like to comment? He muttered about allergies, about misunderstanding, about old ladies and their tricks. But every word landed flat. Then one of the board members spoke, a man who'd had his own garden torn up the previous month. There's a pattern here, he said. I think we've all seen it. Heads nodded. Margaret sat still, her hands folded, her posture steady. She didn't gloat. She didn't speak again. The power had already shifted, quiet and absolute. By the end of the meeting, they announced a formal decision: property damage, violation of HOA regulations, restitution for the plants, and a requirement: community service hours in the shared garden beds. He said nothing, just stared ahead, jaw set. When they left, the afternoon sun hit her face through the glass door, warm, steady, the same light that had once lit her ruined flowers. Outside, Marion waited by the bench with 2 paper cups of tea. Well, she asked. Margaret smiled slightly. They finally saw it. They sat together for a while, sipping in silence. Somewhere nearby, a mower started, distant, harmless now. The petals in her tote bag brushed softly against her palm. He showed up early that Saturday. Head low, gloves on. The kind you buy when you want people to think you work hard. He didn't look around, just set the tools down. The HOA had assigned him to replant the garden beds. Hers, the playground strip, even the gate. Margaret watched from her porch, same place as always, watering can beside her. The air was cool, sunlight sharp. He knelt by the fence line, silent, digging with a borrowed trowel. Every few minutes, a car slowed to look. No one honked. Just that quiet public knowing that changes a man faster than anger ever could. By noon, sweat darkened his shirt. He paused to wipe his face, then noticed her watching. "Looks good," she said simply. He nodded once. "Trying to fix it." "That's all any of us can do," she answered. She brought him a bottle of water, left it by the post, went back to her chair. The mower still sat idle in his driveway. Now he worked quiet, steady, planting daisies, lavender, a few he must have remembered from before. When he finished, he walked over, held out the trowel handle first. "You want to check it?" She took it, felt the weight. "You missed a spot," she said, pointing to a small patch near the mailbox. He laughed, a single, rough sound, not cruel this time. "Guess I did." She passed him the trowel back. "Go ahead." He filled the gap carefully, pressed the soil down with his palm. For a moment, they both looked at the new line of flowers, uneven, fragile, alive. A few weeks later, the official letter came. Restitution approved, funds transferred, case closed. The HOA offered to install a small border fence around her garden, but she declined. "Boundaries," she said, "should be seen, not built." Spring deepened. The garden returned, brighter somehow, as if the earth remembered the apology. Children passed on bikes. Dogs stopped to sniff. Life carried on. Margaret set the brass watering can on the porch rail. Sunlight caught the side. The name Hale, clean again. She looked toward the neighbor's yard. The mower was gone. She took a slow sip, breathed in the air, lavender and soil, and smiled. Not victory, not pride, just balance, back where it belonged.